Journey with us as we take a look back in time.
Today's focus, the Civil War in Virginia.
We'll visit Manassas, Fredericksburg, Appomattox, and stop by our own neighborhood here in Hampton Roads.
Let's jump right in and start.
Looking back. It was July 21st, 1861, the first Battle of Bull Run, also known as the Battle of First Manassas, which was the first major battle of the American Civil War. Blood was shed, families ended. General Robert Patterson led Confederate troops into Manassas, causing almost 3,000 injuries and deaths to the Union soldiers. General Irvin McDowell led the Union troops in the battle that ended in a terrible defeat, with the loss of 387 soldiers, which is what started the obvious truth that the country was at war with itself. The outcome forced the North and South to face the sobering reality that this fight would be long and bloody.
Just over a year later, we move on to another fierce battle in our state, fought on December 11th, 1862, the Battle of Fredericksburg. Union forces, led by General Ambrose Burnside, attempted to cross the Rappahannock River and attack the Confederate Army, led by General Robert E. Lee, on the heights above Fredericksburg, Virginia. The Union Army suffered a devastating defeat with over 12,000 casualties compared to the Confederacy's 5,000. This caused the Union Army to lose their opportunity to penetrate the South and seize the city of Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederacy.
Fought from February 11th through the 16th, 1862, the Union Army ultimately had an approximate 2,691 casualties compared to the Confederacy 13,846. The battle began with a long firefight, ending in the current Union flag officer Andrew H. Foote being injured, which made things appear grim for the Union Army. However, things quickly shifted into the Union's favor as General Ulysses S. Grant had encircled the Southerners. The Confederates began fighting to clear a path on February 15th in the morning. By afternoon, the Union had retreated. When the path was thought to be clear, the Confederacy was released back into their entrenchments. This gave Grant the opportunity to regain lost ground and block the Confederacy from escaping. Seeing as their chances were slim, the Confederate forces fled into Nashville or elsewhere. Buckner, the last general remaining at Fort Donelson, asked Grant for his terms for surrender on February 16th. Grant responded with no terms can be accepted other than unconditional and immediate surrender. With his stance made clear, Buckner stood down. After the Union achieved its first significant victory with Fort Donelson and Fort Henry, Ulysses' unconditional surrender, S. Grant was given the rank of Major General.
Naval ships during the Civil War evolved from wooden vessels to metal vessels using iron. The Union developed a warship called the USS Merrimack that was besieged by the Confederates and renamed the CSS Virginia. The date was March 8, 1862, the Battle of Hampton Roads, which was the first engagement of two ironclad warships during the Civil War. The battle was fought between the newly developed USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia. The Union was commanded by John Marston and John Warner. On the Confederate Navy side, we have Franklin Buchanan and Case B. Jones. The Confederate effort to break the Union blockade of southern ports, including Norfolk and Richmond, had been imposed at the start of the war. The Battle of the Ironclads lasted 4 hours. While neither side could claim victory, the battle demonstrated a viability of ironclad technology and provided a glimpse into the future of naval warfare.
In spring of 1865, Robert E. Lee left Petersburg and the Confederate capital of Richmond in order to gather the remaining members of his besieged army, link up with reinforcements in North Carolina, and restart the fight. Days earlier, Lee had made the decision to hand over the Army of Northern Virginia rather than decimate his force and sacrifice his soldiers' lives in vain. 3 days later, Lee's army was disbanded and his soldiers were granted parole. Bringing an official end to the War of Virginia, the Confederate Army under the command of General Robert E. Lee of Northern Virginia was surrendered to the Union General Ulysses S. Grant. After the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse, which took place on April 9, 1865, the Grant-Lee Pact served as a template for all subsequent surrenders as well as proof that the South had lost the war. So as you can see, Virginia played a major role during the Civil War.
We hope that you enjoyed this time looking back and more importantly, learned something new.
See you next time.